Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Journey TV. We are your host,
Mary Silvernail and
Thomas Knights Templar. We have a great show for you tonight. It's interventional therapy for starseeds.
mm-hmm.
All right. As you might know, starseeds are children that are born to us. All right. In this generation, they come in with extra knowledge and buried, in their DNA. It's designed to help make this next generation very much better, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Higher
A higher
evolution.
perception of spiritual realms.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest.
Luis Melendez. Thank you.
Tell them what you do, Lou.
Oh, I'm an ordained spiritualist minister. I'm a certified transpersonal hypnotherapist, and I keep myself busy very much on focusing on topics of the occult sciences, the constitution of man, and what we can do in terms of raising our own vibrations and drawing nearer to God. That's my kind of summary.
That's a very good quest.
That's beautiful.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for coming back on the show, Louis.
My pleasure.
And Stella?
Hi, my name is Stella Porto. I am a retired special education administrator from New York City Department of Education, and I'm also a retired softball coach for the College of Staten Island.
Very good.
Wow. You're a
Okay.
very spiritual lady, too.
Well,
From our conversation, I could tell.
Yes, it was all coming through.
Yeah.
yeah, it's been an interesting 4 years, and finding God, I think, double time during the past 4 years.
What's tested your faith?
It tested my faith, and also tested the people around me,
Yeah.
faith, and there's a lot around.
Well, you know what they say, whatever doesn't kill you, cures you.
And that test has been put through for the past 4 years.
Well, what I've always noticed is, and you and I both have gone through this, the dark night of the soul, it's
Yes.
called. When you go through trials and tribulations in your life and you don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and then all of a sudden you do because you hold on to that faith. Because what opens up at the end of that tunnel is even a better, beautiful beginning than what you had left behind. And God wants that.
I
There was,
want to cry because
I know.
this is
I know.
hard. I coached the College Staten Island softball team for 17 years, and that was one of the biggest loves of my life. They had gone Division II, and I had a choice to make to go from a part-time softball coach to then, or become a full-time coach and coach D2. And my heart knew that my special education students needed me. So one of the hardest decisions I had to make was to choose to say goodbye to one of the biggest loves and passions of my life. But doing that, then I knew to be with my special education students. We had 23 schools. I was in charge of pre-K
Wow.
to 21. We developed schools throughout Staten Island, over at Mount Loretto, P25R. And being there, I got to work almost every population, and it was very rewarding work.
Working with children always is.
Beyond. But a couple of months later, the mandates hit, and I'm one of the ones that were fired because of the mandates. I did not follow through the illegal mandates, and I lost my 30-year career. At the time, I was like 26. I was years in, but I wound up losing both my careers. Whew.
You feel better?
Yeah, I lost both of them, and it's been a very hard 4 years. Having an income coming in, and a family to support, and not having any of that. But what really hurt the most was losing everyone around me. Because who are you when you lose both your careers? You're no longer a coach, you're no longer an administrator for special education, and the people around you, do they go your way? Because at the time, they all thought it was crazy. And how can you lose your position? How can you lose your job? And treat your family that way. And I lost a lot of family. I lost a lot of friends, and most of all, people who I call family at work.
Yeah.
They just stopped.
Well, you know what it is. It's more than it was a loss for you. It was a loss for those children that needed you and didn't have you. Now, this is about the children tonight, okay, and what they're
Yes.
facing, you know, and I mean, you can see how so many things are geared against these children coming into their own and realizing who they really are. Their energy is being zapped by malicious entities, you might call them, all right? They're being exploited at every turn. So many go missing here in the United States, the most than any other country in the world. All right, here, I mean, it was an astounding number, because I was listening to the other countries, 1,000, 10,000, 5,000. Here, it's 468,000 a year.
It's 500,000.
All right, children just disappear. All right, and why? What's behind this? I know you hear a lot these days about trafficking and things like that, but when you take that kind of energy that belongs in the world and you remove it, for whatever evil purpose you're using it for, okay? I mean, you're feeding on like locust, you know? And you notice that everything that has to do with children has all these different things attached to it. You know, when I was a kid growing up, you had three vaccines. Now you have 79 by the time you're 18. The heck do you need all of that for? And it's found out that those kids are sicker than people who've never had them before. So what are you really treating? You're not treating anything. All treatments are designed to keep you enslaved to
It's
buying
this.
pills. Yeah, it's money. It's what it is. And they don't care. You're a number. That's all you are. And the minute you go down, somebody will fill your slot. You know? Now, as a person who deals with this type of thing, Luis, I know that you do that type of hypnosis to help, you know, these children, and these numbers are astounding. I saw your face when I said that number, you know. It's just incredible that as a civilized and the #1 country supposedly in the world, all right, why are we 49th in education? We used to be #1. 49th. Why do we have the highest crime rates in the world? Why do we have the highest death rates in the world? You're supposed to be the best. You're supposed to have the top-notch everything. Do we really? Or are we just being duped by that square box that you watch every damn day like this? What do you think, Lou?
We're disempowered, Tommy.
Yes.
You know, for all the talk of God and for the whole business of it, you know, we're practically no wiser than the layman. You know, we speak of angels, yet to what extent is that angelic presence really firing up our, you know, are we sitting in that presence long enough so it can have a really measurable and tangible effect on our centers, on these kind of sacred centers, to kind of raise the kind of kundalini energy so that we can begin to see clearly, purely in the light of God, the way it was meant to be, that the illusory nature of this world and everything that it represents just falls away in the light of the soul. We kind of keep pointing fingers at the church, and we point fingers at the politicians. At some point, Tommy, we have to take accountability for ourselves and ask the question, to what extent are we representing the light of Almighty God that is encapsulates us, that is the reality that drives into motion this reality? To what extent are we prepared to stand in that light? And if we can do that, we can change the dynamics within the family setting, we can change the dynamics within the social settings, our community settings, and then we can change the world, you know.
That's right.
But it begins with us, Tommy. It's the point of
Well, every change is going to be starts with us. You know, when we learn to be that which we were meant to be, you're a child of God. You were made in His image. You have all the abilities of God. You know, I've said it a million times on this show that Jesus told His disciples, and by the way, in those days there was no J in the Hebrew diction, okay? It was Yeshua is His name. That came out after Constantine, who somehow used the likeness of his son, okay, to make a Jesus that looks like, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, that kind of thing. He was not. He was Middle Eastern. He was a man of color, okay, and dark skin. All right, that's the first thing. And like I said to you before, his name is Yeshua. All right, Jesus wasn't given, that name was given to him later on in life by Constantine and his interpretation of the Bible and keeping Christians under control. He saw it as a means to a way to do that. Well, let's get off that. Let's get back onto our children here. I mean, you work with children.
Yeah, my whole
you know,
career.
Your whole
yeah.
career. And I mean, you see heartbreaking stories that come in. A parent maybe can't afford somebody wants to take the children away from them because they not that they live in a squalor, but they can't afford anything.
Mhm.
You know, and it's easier to take care of oneself instead of maybe 3 children. That if they go into foster care, they think that it's going to be better. It's where it starts there.
Well, foster care, we had to stay on top of our social workers and our
Absolutely.
case managers all the time because, sometimes they would be removed from the house and we needed to know where they'd go. So I was very big with follow-up, especially if the children were autistic or,
Right.
had mental challenges. And so the follow-up was very big for me. So I worked very close with my guidance counselors and my social workers, specifically when I came to Mount Loretto, to do that because, a lot of things happen with young women, young men also, not just men and women. It's not just girls. And one of the biggest concerns, sometimes the kids would come in, they were in 5th grade, 6th grade, their nails are done, $1,600 telephones. Where are you getting this money from? Where?
Yeah.
And then they go missing sometimes 2-3 days. So I'd call the social worker. The children haven't been in. What do you mean? They don't even know. So as an administrator, that was so important for the follow-up because if those children didn't come into school
No.
and that there was a change and they were foster children, something's up. So, one of the biggest things was protecting the children. And throughout my careers, both for softball and also for, as a special educator, my main job was to protect the children. And that's what I feel that was most that I did, was try to protect children.
It's it's a rewarding thing. You see, for you, you had that taken away from you.
Yeah.
And that was your love. That's like taking something that you sacrificed your whole life, going in that direction and doing the best you can for these children to see to that they grow up as level-headed young men and women, and had the rug pulled out from under you for something stupid like, what happened there.
So, one of the biggest things when I was coaching for the College of Staten Island, no one knew this, but they knew it when I left. I recruited disability children. At least 4%, maybe 4 to 5, every team I had students with IEPs. A lot of people didn't know that. They knew it when I left because they didn't understand, how to run the team because there were behavior challenges. We had autistic girls throughout the years, OCD, severe anxieties. Girls always thought I would be paying, favoritisms to these students, but not knowing that they needed the extra attention.
They do.
For specifically ones that were out of state, without their parents, and they had mental challenges. So it was very difficult, but not knowing, but yet they became my best athletes because they lived.
Because you believed in them,
Yes.
and because they live vicariously for you, to please you. All right, which is a good thing. You brought them to a higher level of functioning.
I have a very close friend I was telling you about, Kirsten. She just received a remarkable award in New Jersey. She's been a teacher for 30 years, a special education teacher, and she developed a program that now other schools are imitating and copying, which is bringing special needs children where they can actually go and earn a living. This is really, really important.
That's big.
Okay, that's
That-
very
that-
big.
that's big.
Transition
And
is
she
very big.
received an award for the Teacher of the Year.
Oh, congrats.
Yes, but she dedicates her life to her kids. Her kids. And as far as what you're saying, also, I mean, as a teacher and as an administrator that you were, the way that you also, it's more than just teaching or administrating. You have to watch actually all the avenues there of what's going on for the kids.
Yeah.
To protect them.
100%, it started with
And
busing.
that's that, yes. So look at the good. I mean, look at all the good that you have done. You have done. It's just sometimes things change where then you're supposed to go on and do something even more to help even more.
There are
Right?
wow. There are the. Did I say that again? Other avenues. Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was
That
very
you can-
difficult, right? But it was very difficult because when we first left, we were blackballed, I guess you would say, for not following the mandates. We were alienated.
Because they wanted everybody to be automatons.
They want, exactly, and it just didn't make sense for me. Plus, I had pregnant teachers at my school, a lot of them. And they asked me to choose for them, and I was no way choosing for them because I wanted them to choose the baby. I didn't know anything about the shots.
That's right.
And I wanted the babies to be okay, and that's one of the main reasons that I left.
Wow.
It was very difficult, and
Listen,
then as time went on, we were denied unemployment. We were denied coming back to the schools. We were denied getting jobs. We had problem codes put on us.
Problem code.
Problem codes
Yeah.
put on us, and the only reason I found out about problem code, I grew up in Fort Hamilton Army Base, and I would take my mom and my daughter and my dad to the PX in Fort Hamilton Army Base in Brooklyn.
I've been to.
All of a sudden, I'm getting followed in the PX. Me, of all people, I'm like, something's
Wow.
up, something's crazy. They follow me out, security to outside, and then all of a sudden I get in my car and I get to the stop sign and they say, stop. The military police pull me over and they move me up to the front of the fort where these guys with machine guns are all there and they're walking up and down this way. And they said, license and insurance, please. And I'm like, what did I do? They go, you just stopped at the stop sign, but it wasn't long enough. And I'm like, that's not me. I know, because there's a tank right here at the end. So everyone stares at the tank for at least 2, 3, 4 minutes, no, seconds, I should say. And then I go. And I grew up, pretty much at the Army base. So I went up there and they had me there for about 15, 20 minutes. They checked my background and they said, you came up on the Homeland Security as an issue.
Wow.
And that's when I found out at the time. And it blew my mind because I was like, there's no way. Why? Especially me. I love my job. I loved who I worked with. I
And you were
started out.
dedicated.
I was dedicated. I just didn't get it. I
You didn't fit the motif. All right, you went against the grain.
Yeah.
You know.
But it was just to protect the kids and my family, myself, and my staff. Specifically the pregnant ones. That's what I really want. My autistic children who didn't have advocates. They were over 18 years of age. We were their advocates during the school day. So I wanted to make sure they were okay. And me not there, who's going to advocate for them? So it was hard. So
It's like leaving your own kids.
Yeah.
they were. I know you're not supposed to say that, but they really are.
Yeah.
It sounds in many ways, I know this may sound a little bit, maybe not as necessarily as logical, but it sounds as though you've been promoted, spiritually speaking.
Yes.
So impossible for you to have any attachments of this kind of glorious career that you've lived. Impossible for you to try to attach yourself or cling on to that. Kicking or screaming, you will be taken forward. Right? So now you're sat at this table. You're here with ministers that are, have an affinity with angels. And my heart's curious as to what extent this new spiritual education that you're going to provide for the children, because they need it most and foremost. As an adult, at what point in my primary or secondary school education did anyone talk to me about my emotions or having an emotional inventory? None of that. But quite readily, there's the drugs or the alcohol in the event that I become a little bit emotionally unstable. I have all the clarity where to get those substances. But at no point during my education did anyone really have an honest connection about, and again, this is a show that's talking about the kind of the streams of life that are also in parallel with human evolution, the angelic kingdom. At what point, we have to make a decision here. At what point do we turn to our children as parents or as caretakers and say to them, you are a child of God, let me begin to break that down, the importance of meditation, the importance of prayer, the importance of angelic communion, the importance of maintaining equilibrium, poise, mental clarity. At what point do we have that conversation? Because it's all about protecting them, and obviously, and all these things, but it's time that we shift. And if someone, looking at Stella, you're an ambassador to children, we're all having to change, and it sounds like, you're willing or not, you're being promoted.
Yeah, you're being moved there.
God's moved me. And, it was
Amen.
ironic through this. I wasn't allowed in the Board of Education schools, but I was still allowed in my church. and I taught CCD for my church in New Jersey,
Oh.
and for special needs students. And I was allowed to continue that work, even though I was not allowed in the public school system. I was allowed in the Catholic school to go and to, in person, give CCD lessons to special needs students, communion classes and confirmation classes. And that brought me to a whole new enlightenment, because here I am.
Have you ever tried to
I'd like to
get
hear
your
about that.
Board of Education record expunged?
Right now, we're in court. One court case that we're looking to go after the unions. We had no due process whatsoever. I mean,
Teachers union's garbage.
besides,
Always been.
there's a lot that came out. One of the biggest things was they admitted in court that they didn't go the full way for us. We paid dues, we did everything we need to, but we got no due process. How do you just let your people go? And then in court, the judge asked them, okay, did you do everything you can for them? Which means, did you appeal those court cases that you lost? The answer was no, they never did. So here you are, you're supposed to be spending all this money that of our dues to help people like us do this, and you didn't. And that's where I was like, but we looked up to you. Your jobs are to teach teachers, protect teachers, and protect the staff of New York City, bottom line. And that didn't happen.
No.
So I'm now one of the only administrators on this case with about 43 teachers left. We made it all the way through, because 4 years, I did the much as I can staying out, but I was forced to retire 2 years ago. So December 1st, 2023 is when I had a force to retire. But for 2 years, I wasn't receiving anything, no paychecks, no nothing. That's why God brought me back to coaching. I was able to coach club softball in New Jersey, where I was dead inside for losing college Staten Island softball. I was dead. But yet, through this process, I was then able to be back with kids and back teaching and doing what I love, coaching club softball, which was a college level at a younger age.
Well, what about the licensing in New Jersey? Is it different licensing
It's
than
very
here?
different.
was
Number one,
wondering.
two, they ask you, were you ever fired from a job? Yeah, I was.
You could say it was COVID
I
related.
Yeah, but
did,
why?
but they're all together.
See?
You understand? The unions are together. AFT, UFT, CSA, they,
Well, you got to keep in mind you're in two major Democratic states.
yeah.
All right, that may not have been the case if you would have been in like say, Florida or Texas.
And that's hard. And you try to not make it political. And one of the biggest things.
How can you not? Everything is political today.
But I tried not to make it political.
Right.
And I tried to do it for unity for the children. Like, let us all get together for the children. If we all leave the Board of Ed, if everyone leaves that day, we're all out. They're back in school, I believe, with the parents upset within a month, maybe a week, the most, maybe 2 weeks, month at least.
When they start losing
Sticking together.
this,
Yes, federal funding. Well, now they are.
and they're going to lose it. But if this guy gets in, forget about it. They're going to lose this big time.
You know what?
Okay.
You need to stick up for the Constitution. You needed to stick up for your rights. And I thought by me at least leaving, other people would leave. A few did, but many went back. So they all thought, some of the cases that happened to win by being in court, the mayor appealed some of them. So people try to get us back to the Board of Ed by being like in a different consulting position, something, to try inclusive settings, especially someone like me who has the, background. So some of the principals from District 31 try to get me to come back to help them, because they are more integrating autistic children in their schools, and they were denied. They said, you have to sign paperwork, an LWOP, and state that you're not going to be suing. I'm not. If I don't do this, how are the other kids, how are we going to win anything later on for the future teachers, for the future students, for the future? We have to we have to fight. If that's 1%, we need to fight. And by me signing a paper so I can go back to work, no, I can't do that.
No.
So, I was denied going back,
Don't give up your ideals.
I'm not. I'm very strong on that, because I know in my heart I was right. I feel I was right. Teachers have called me, parents have called me and thanked me for saving their kids from taking the vax, because they followed my lead. And would they go public with it? Probably not. But I call them paychecks, and to me, that phone call is a paycheck. Those birthday on my videos, on Facebook, when the kids go and say, "I miss you, Miss Stella," those are my paychecks. And I owe you, Miss Stella. Thank you, Miss Stella. And then I have students who graduated, they were in gangs. They're all calling me back, and one of my students last night just even texted me. That he's looking flying planes now. He's looking to be a pilot. Here's a kid who's high autistic. People almost got rid of it, and now he wants to go and be a pilot at JFK.
People don't realize,
Yes.
I know a lot of people who have autistic children, and what they don't realize is these children are hyper-focused, all right? And if he's hyper-focused, like I know somebody whose son's like that.
Brilliant.
And he's brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Brilliant, you know what I mean? And
Albert Einstein.
Yes, they said that he might have been.
Yeah.
All right. The whole point of it is like in this generation, I say since the early '90s, we started to make a protocol of labeling children. When I was a kid, if they were all lumped in with us, okay, and they might have been considered slow, or needed tutoring, or got left back and then got promoted, you know what I mean, or went to summer school. We didn't have all of this.
Right.
All of a sudden, you got so many different. What do they call them? Syllables and things like for what they are. ADX, XYZ. Get up. I mean, what are you, crazy? Stop
And that's-
labeling these kids, because once you believe it, if I go and they tell you you have a mental disorder, and you just say, "Oh, he says I have a mental disorder. There must be something wrong with me."
labeling.
You enforce that thought. You empower that thought.
And then you believe
You
it.
Words are
believe
spells.
it.
Words are
And
spells.
what do you
And then
think
it
they're
is.
doing on TV every single day? The hypnosis that's on TV.
Well, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I've helped people with children, and I got to tell you something. A lot of therapists have sent me children right after COVID, when it was time for the kids to go back to school. Okay, there was major issues.
absolutely.
Because the kids were frightened to be in school, and parents were having such a problem. And so, I would hypnotize them, and it worked. It helped.
Wow.
Okay, but I help children with ADD, ADHD, also.
How much did you wind up doing?
Yeah, but
that?
I work with a therapist. And you're a hypnotherapist.
There-
I did,
also.
but my experience mostly with dealing with adults with anxiety,
Uh-huh.
not necessarily children. But just getting back to this point, Stella, and I'm thinking we all have benefited to a degree of realization or awakening, and the new mentorship will be inclusive of that knowledge. Are we beginning to think how we can factor in understanding of consciousness or the nature of reality, but in a way that's accessible for children? Those are the kind of interesting conversations that perhaps point to a future where there's not division, where there's not finger pointing. This is a more evolved way of being or embodying this world, and let's try it.
Oh, yes, you have to enlighten the children. That is extremely important. Ever since this happened to you, haven't you what we were talking about in the green room, it seems like your spiritualism has risen, like right to the surface.
It really has. The way
Tell us about that.
I gave everything to God.
That's right.
And it changed my life.
And your life will always change. Thoreau once said on Walden Pond, if you move in the direction of your dreams, something will manifest for you in common hours.
And it has.
And it
led me
has.
to you people. It led me to amazing friends, and
Hello, amazing friends.
amazing friends are in the audience right now.
They're waving back. Okay.
And it's led me to amazing kids. But I think the biggest piece is the family piece. It brought me closer to my family. I was never home. I had 2 careers. I would leave my house 4 or 5 in the morning. Half my career before I was an administrator over at P25R. I worked out of Central. I was director of sister technology for New York City. So I got to work with different schools, 1,600 within New York City. And I was a technology coach for Technology Solutions, where we would be able to train teachers and principals on technology. because during the time, 1993, when I started teaching, I had a computer background. I used to work for Pergament here in Staten Island.
Pergament?
I was
Wow.
I was a price coordinator, but I also had computer training and computer skills. So going into the Board of Education when technology was just starting, and Jose P., which is one of the biggest court cases that was New York City had hit, it involved the Clintons and also, a lot of the students who
Wasn't
had
everything?
nonverbal students who did not get the correct education because they were nonverbal. They didn't have the assistive technology in order to get their education. So I was at the beginning of that, and I taught, I would say about 5 years in Brooklyn at Park Place, which is mostly autistic, and 8 one-to-one and 6 one-to-one students, mentally challenged. But since I had the technology background, they took me out of that so I could help train the teachers and stuff at the time. So for 10 years, I worked at the district office for District 75, and at Central, we collaborated a lot with Office of Instructional Technology, which is now combined with the Division of Instructional Technology, DIIT. That was one of the biggest experiences, because what blessed me to bring all the programs that I was able to develop for alternate assessment, along with my principal at the time, which was Jimmy McEwen. He allowed me to help with me develop, and he believed in it from pre-K all the way to 21 to develop these programs for these children that involved the assistive tech.
I'm getting something for you is coming through, and it's saying that you need to, let me get it right. Okay. They want you to be a consultant in this field, to do private consulting with these children and parents that have these children, all right? More or less like an occupational therapist. That's what you're supposed to be doing, because you didn't lose your gift or your touch for doing that.
No,
You just
absolutely.
lost
I give it for free.
you just lost a job that, in my word, okay, is a look at the education system here. And then I don't even have to tell you anything more. 49th.
But the biggest thing is you've got to think of children. I like to do backward design. Where are they going to wind up? They got rid of the trades. They got rid of the curriculum that was around the child, and it made it a one-size-fits-all. These kids are not one-size-fits-all. The testing is not one-size-fits-all, and students in special education should not have been tested. So the anxieties and the things that they went through,
Yep.
people like me try to protect them. And now that I was gone, what happened? We had a sensory room, $50-something thousand sensory room. They got rid of it as soon as I left. How can you do that?
Easy.
Not that they got rid of it, just what my vision of that room was compared to what
they don't want you to bring the children forward.
No.
They don't want, see, I tell you right now, when my grandchildren get to the age to go to college, they're not going to go to college. They're going to trade schools, because each one of them is going to make a fortune over these people who can't even put a light bulb in for themselves.
Correct.
Okay? And I know people who are sending their children to trade schools. All right? There is where the next generation of millionaires is going to be, right there.
I agree.
Because you're going to have a generation of kids who don't know how to do nothing.
Well, AI's taken over.
Well, I'm hoping AI. I'm hoping AI is the swift kick in the behind that we need to fire up our intuition, right? Because think about it. With all the efficiencies that are gained by having AI-driven analysis, meta-analysis, and doing all the hard work for us, what does that then allow us? We can now, all that time that would have been, all that effort put into that aspect, we can now begin to link. So I'm hoping AI and robotics and all the fear that it's going to drum up, it's going to give us that extra impetus to fire up our own intuitive capacities. Now, we're talking about a planetary logos. Not some programming that I can some algorithm that I can create within and pull all the information that's gathered from this physical reality. We're part of a planetary logo, a cosmic initiate, whose reality is, here we are fighting over our neighborhoods in Flatbush and Brooklyn, and these cosmic deities who we're an integral part of. That's the pool of power and of knowledge I'm waiting to hear. At what point do we let go of the things that have happened? You clearly we've taken our children with our kindness, with our love, as far as they go. But at what point do we turn off the switch or begin transitioning it and putting in the intuitive capacity? So, and for me, having that intuition, and that's the end of the cycle of sin, disease, and death. You can protect the child as much as you want. At some point, there's going to be another conundrum or another issue, another life crisis, another existential crisis. You cannot provide that solution for them. But what you can do is mentor them how to be still and how to, the simplest thing is the hardest thing. Tommy, you talked about if we could be our best version of ourselves, and some of the guests here, bless them, they have that connection. But it's the single hardest thing to do. Yogis spent lifetimes to achieve that embodiment of that best version of ourselves. Having a conversation over a cup of coffee is not going to do it.
No.
Let alone, but within the group here, we can become emotionally charged from it. We can fuel our passion for it. But to a lay person out the street that's overwhelmed with grief and stress and financial concerns, it's what ounce of wisdom? Just one. Not 500 different things or the problems of the world or metaphysics. What one thing can we share that's going to have the most profound impact on that individual, on their child, on their parents, on their living? And this is what we're having to ask ourselves. We don't waste our efforts and our energies in frustration during this increasingly testing period of transition.
There's nothing we can do about what's behind us. We have to go forward and up. And that is the truth.
And speaking of that, I don't want to cut the show. Me and Mary were having a conversation earlier in the green room, and we were talking about what is it with me tonight? Astrologically things. You want to elaborate on that?
Well, let's see. Today is October 17th,
Yes.
right? 2025.
My wife's birthday. I'm in big trouble.
Happy birthday, Vera.
Hi, Vera.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
Happy birthday.
to you.
Oh, no, not the song. Not the song. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, anyway, so what I just have a couple of things to say because there's a lot going on out there. Interstellar.
Wow.
You're doing it to me. Stop.
You didn't even see my lips move, did
make
you?
me screw up like that.
Okay.
Okay, but anyway, October 21st, we have the Libra new moon coming up, and it's a brand new beginning for personal relationships and partnerships of all kinds and resolutions to any old conflicts that you have within yourself, but especially with others, okay, in order to move ahead in a very brilliant way. But this is a very important moon that's coming up to bring people together, and that's what I love. So what you were talking about before, how do we go ahead and how do we find that way to come together and stop, we're going to blame this one, we're going to blame that one, we're going to do that. This is a way for things to come together with, look at even what just happened, right, with Gaza, Israel. But anyway, and then on October the 20th and 21st, which is a couple of days away also, which is right around that new moon, we have a shooting star every 3 to 5 minutes, zooming past 41 miles per second across the night sky. So you guys need to, it's going to be a meteor shower. You guys need to look, okay, and really watch this. And especially with the new moon darkens the sky.
Yeah.
So you can see the meteor shower even better. And then we have on Halloween, October 31st, can actually see the star system of the Seven Sisters, which I love. That's the Pleiades, okay? Now, let me tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll be done, okay? But on Halloween, you can see the Seven Sisters. Now, Brian, I had a couple of pictures I gave you. If you could please put them up for a moment to show people where to look in the heavens. Bye. There you go. Okay, so locating the Pleiades is very easy. I'm sure as a child you were taught how to find Orion's belt, right? Were you, Louis? You know what I'm talking about here, right? So now all you have to do is find Orion's belt, those 3 stars in the middle, okay? See Orion with his sword and everything, okay, and his shield. So now you go up from Orion's belt and you're going to look upward and you're going to look for a red star, and it looks red, It's actually the bull's eye of Taurus, of the Taurus system. And then you look a little further up and you're going to see 7 blue. Usually you can only see 6, but there are 7 of a blue color stars. That's the Pleiades. That's the Pleiades.
That's where life is supposed to be originated from.
Thank you.
Adam,
Yes.
Adam and Eve.
That's and the star system. As far as the Native American people believe, you know, that
star
that's
people.
where we come from, the
Yeah.
star people. Yes, I love the Pleiades. So then go to the next picture, please, Brian, so you can see. Okay, so that's what it would look like up in the heavens. But this is very important, and this is on Halloween, because this is how Halloween developed. This is actually how it developed. Because the ancient Celtic cultures, like the Druids, believed that when the Pleiades star cluster reached its highest point, as what you're looking at there on the screen, okay, at midnight was when the veil between the living and the dead
It's thinnest.
was the thinnest, which marked the festival of Samhain, which is celebrating the end of summer and the harvest. The origins of Halloween is actually from Ireland at harvest time. But I just wanted to share that with the audience. Thanks, Brian. You can take it down now. Thank you. But I wanted to share that because that's something really nice to look forward to.
Looking forward to it.
And right now, also, I'm just going to add this, there are a lot of comets coming through, all kinds of stuff. Ooh, all this interstellar stuff going on right now. But at least those things you can look to see. It's a beautiful show.
Can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Nature's natural show.
Yeah, I just thought that that would be nice for people to be able to look for,
Okay,
you know?
very good.
And
Okay.
that's the origins of Halloween.
The origins of Halloween.
Interesting.
What do we have?
Oh. So I wanted to ask Luis a couple of questions here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell us about your transpersonal, which is your spiritualist, the personal hypnotherapy. I've known a couple of transpersonal hypnotherapists, and in actuality, I imagine this is really what we do, right, Johnny?
It's a very
As
interesting
hypnotherapists.
it's a very interesting framework when you're no longer limited to understanding someone's definition of themselves from the kind of the biology, from the moment of conception to where you are now, when that framework is extended to include different lifetimes. Now, the privilege and the sacredness to be able to guide someone, to be able to induce that kind of level of hypnotic induction, to allow someone to feel that level of peace, and then to gently guide them as a traveler across that kind of imaginary bridge to the subconscious mind and beyond. And the things that are now surfacing, things that they couldn't even possibly make up.
It's all in the pathways of
Do you bring in
It's all in, and then, but sorry, Tommy, but then why, it's the narrative. Where's it coming from and the reason, and then how it wonderfully connects to perhaps a challenge that they're facing right now, kind of giving it a sense of the originating seed by which they find themselves in a potentially problematic or challenging position, and how that all then begins to integrate. So that's the kind of the nutshell of it, is the fact that we're now freed to be beyond the
Yeah,
kind of
because
sense of
once they
limitation
recognize-
self-imposed.
Well, once they
Yeah.
recognize what
Yeah.
the problem was, and come face to face with it to
done.
regression, it's done. But the thing I'm saying, do you take them to the what was that thing? Symbolistic, I think it is, level.
I don't personally. When past life regression, you don't necessarily need to go there.
Right.
Now, you do come across hypnotists that are working with, for example, those that try to do anesthetic
Oh, yes.
hypnosis,
Anesthetic, yeah.
right?
yeah.
And
so
they do that. In England, they do
Wow.
that.
They do that. So
Did you know
in
that?
Spain,
Wow.
imagine. So at that point, you know something's happening. If you can have knee
Hypnoamnesia.
surgery
Yeah.
without anesthesia, something remarkable is truly happening. And if you ever get a chance, the BBC did a production on a Spanish doctor. And while he was there with his patient, he's just no needles, no lengthy hypnotic induction, no progressive relaxation. Here he is with the patient who's going to have this procedure. He's just talking to her, and he's just touching her wrist, just tapping very gently.
Tapping,
And at the same time he's having a conversation with her, he's gauging the depth of the hypnotic. He's inserting needles without any at all reaction from the patient.
Wow.
And he knows that they're receptive and a prime candidate. And then the BBC shows the next scene where they're in theater having, a knee surgery.
Yeah.
And so that's where the hope is. To what extent can we move the critical factor, this critical mind, out of the way that tells us, no, this can happen. No, these memories are a fiction of my imagination. To what extent can we move that element out and just allow what's in to kind of surface and have a say? And maybe I think that can go a long way in healing and helping people.
We are so much more. We are so much more. And as you know, we only stop ourselves. We have to stop that.
I watched them do dental surgery, doing that, and it was in England. Put him under hypnosis.
Yeah.
And I listen. If you could do that and a person actually doesn't feel any pain or doesn't have any recovery time, and I think that's an amazing thing. Because who wants all those chemicals in your body?
There's
the
hypnobirthing.
question is, why, if it's true, then why is it more widely practiced? Why is it that we're hearing about this one doctor in Spain and this
right.
kind of vague reference?
Yeah.
Why isn't every GP trained to have the most non-invasive knowledge of working with patients possible?
Because you know who runs the medical training here. It's not a
Everything
medical
is
college.
I think this is
It's
where Stella could give us a
pharmaceutical.
bit of inspiration. We gotta fight. We gotta say enough is enough, because ultimately, I think we're to blame. And again, forgive me, but I don't want to take the effort to lose weight and exercise. I'd rather get a pill that'll help me, this whole idea is that it's, what can you do for me? Why don't we begin to learn how to hypnose ourselves, and as opposed to relying on someone else's expertise, who better to induce a state of mind than ourselves, the very occupant of this physical mechanism? We really must educate ourselves to say that we are so much more than we're
That's the
being led
key
to
word,
believe.
though.
I
you
was
say?
watching that with Dolores Cannon.
Yeah. I like her.
She's unbelievable, and especially in this field that we do. She was saying that she's never sick. I mean, don't get me wrong. She wasn't. She was I won't say a portly woman, but she was there. She was an older woman at the time that I was watching his videos. She's sitting in a chair. Her daughter's helping her, but she was a healthy woman. She told a story about her husband, like 45. She's been doing this 45 years. Her husband was a military man, and he was returning home, and he got hit head on. And he was in a VW marker bus, if you know what that is. Here's the glass, you're dead. You're right behind it. He was infused into the metal.
Wow.
And they put it, all right, he was crippled from that point on and everything else that, but she saw her life, because when she gets to the symbolistic level, she was talking with the entities that are there, and they told her, said that you got this to do, you're going to write this many books, you're going to do this, we're going to give you this, we're going to give you that, and he was with her. So she was telling the doctor, she's not going to die. And they were saying, oh, he's better off, you start making your arrangements. He pulled through. All right, so, at that particular level that she explored herself, because back in the days when she was doing it, you take a little watch, you go like this, you know what I mean? Now it's so much different.
Yeah, but we don't, the idea of having the spiritually transformative experience off the back of a near-death experience, of this kind of spontaneous out-of-body experience, when are we going to learn that my constitution is part, however, without getting overly metaphysical, I'm part spiritual. I'm occupying this body. At some point, once it's served its purpose, it will be discarded. And if we're lucky, we'll have the opportunity to have an even more refined model, even more refined. What I mean by refinement, sensitive to soul impression. At what point do we glean all these insights, and then begin to create a curricula that helps educate children? Back to topic, from a very early age. Let me introduce you to the subject of angels.
You,
You know, what-
you see this talk, we
Yeah.
talking about meditation
My
before?
kids are angels.
I have to ask you something in a minute there.
In India, the capital of meditation, they started to take the prisoners that were in jail
Mm-hmm.
and made them, I think an hour, 2 hours, whatever it was, meditation only. All the stuff that was going on in the
Awesome.
jail stopped.
Yep.
That when they got out of jail, they became productive citizens. You can't tell me that that is not from that connecting to oneness.
Of course.
Absolutely it is.
Well, I have a question for Stella. So you were telling me in the green room before that you noticed that a lot of spiritual things were happening for you after this. Could you share a little bit of that part of it?
Sure. I wound up meeting amazing people. Part of it was my friend Chris George.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, he's a regular
who's been on
here.
the show.
Yeah.
And he had introduced me. He had helped me know what's going on around me.
Okay.
Yeah, and also he had introduced me to amazing, amazing friends
Mm-hmm.
that are on the same, I guess, spiritual level. Because a lot of my friends, you know, they think I'm crazy. You know, they were like, "Oh, she's crazy. There's no
Just
way
a
that's
little,
going to
just a
happen."
little.
Just a little bit, and then things I would say would happen, like a month later or 2 months. They're like, "How did she know that?" Or like, "Stella was right."
But
And
did you notice that opened up even more after literally the tragedy that you were going through?
yeah, you know, meeting him really changed my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I always tell him this. And you know, it brought me to a new level of spirituality because it was okay that I was seeing things ahead of time. That you know, you were protecting children, you were protecting people. That's why you were able to see it. You saw things that are now coming out now in today's world that people didn't see. They called you crazy. They called you nuts. You know, and they isolated.
That's the best form of flattery.
I didn't know it at the time because that's how I went to severe depression, you know, from it. But he really taught me that it's okay. You know, they might think you're crazy. They might think, you know, but your true friends are going to be there. And you get to see your Judases. You know, you got to see who really only wanted you because they thought what you could do for them. And, you know,
Yeah.
Remember, as you grow in spirituality, the teachers will be provided. Okay, that's the first thing I would tell you. Second thing is that you're going to notice, and Kim and Maria, right?
Maria.
You're going to notice that things happen synchronistically. There is no such thing as coincidence. Coincidence is for intelligentsia because they don't know any other word. Okay? It's synchronicity. As you grow, the teachers will be provided. All
Look
right?
what happened here tonight.
Did
and
you ever
you know-
expect this?
Oh, no.
This was
I was in the
this-
audience.
this was divinely guided.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Yes. Amen.
I got goosebumps.
You did?
Absolutely.
Take a hammer, beat them little suckers down.
Absolutely. I love it.
It's the first time I really
love it.
talked about it to any, you know.
Because
I mean, I
it's
fought it online.
releasing,
And
it's
it just,
releasing this is that you had trapped inside. It's out in the open now. Face your fear giants and go past them. All right. Once you
it's-
face your fear giants, they fall away.
Mm-hmm.
Fear is inverted faith. Remember that. When you fear, all those negative things attach to you.
yeah, I don't
When you realize
fear.
it's BS, it falls away from you.
There's something really wonderful for you. This is just the beginning because you're going to help so many more people.
I want to
You
help.
are.
I do want to help. And
And anyone who watches this show,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because it's on Spectrum and Fios, right?
Mhm.
Plus YouTube, all the shows. So anyone who watches the show and maybe went through a similar situation as you know, they're going to say, wow, and they will be meant.
Okay.
They will be meant to have watched this show for you to uplift them and show them that there is hope.
Okay,
From
we
your
have
faith.
this many.
Mm-hmm.
So, Luis, give us your final shot.
Yeah.
Well,
Aim it at her.
well, thank you for such an inspired evening. You know, Stella, you know, you're just not helping the people that Mary talked about. You're helping, you know, people like your fellow colleagues on the path and empowering us with your glorious virtue and your.
thank you.
So thank you for that. And of course, Tommy, Mary, thank you for a wonderful show.
Oh.
And you got me very intrigued about Pleiades. We need to be doing more reflection on what the significance that means. So thank you, Mary, for that.
You're welcome.
Well,
Remember.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to tell my story. Staten Island's in my heart, always will be in my heart. My kids, my children, you know, that are here, that I've taught, you know, that I've helped
They're always
develop.
going to be your children. They're always going to be a
Yeah.
part of your
But
story.
also my athletes, you know,
You know?
there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of them, that, you know, I'm just
I
blessed.
told you in the kitchen, I said, when I met my former ball players,
Mm-hmm.
they're all men now. They're in their 40s. And they see me, they're giants. They pick me up, they hug me,
Yeah.
kiss me.
It's the best feeling.
You know, there's no better.
the best
you know,
feeling.
you can give me $1 million, but I take that over.
I call them paychecks. You
Yeah.
know, when someone sends me an invitation to their baby shower, you know, one of my girls, Christina, just had a baby, and I'm going to, you know, see her, and I got invited to her, you know, someone else's wedding. Those are my paychecks. You know, thank you, Coach, for that. That is the best paycheck you could ever have.
Remember, again, remember to look into consulting,
I will.
okay?
I-
Because you might as well be compensated and not stay stagnant with those memories of what happened. What happened is just in the past. Can't change the past.
You have so much to share. I see you in front of very large groups of people sharing this.
Really?
Yes, to help parents,
A lot
help
of
the
people went through
children,
this.
and yeah.
What is going on
I
tonight?
Yeah,
know.
but people don't understand that, you know, one of the biggest things is
I always
they
send my
thought we all
classes.
went back to work. We all didn't go back to work.
I know. See,
And
that's a
that
misgiving.
was a lie. That was a total lie. We never went
misgiving.
back, and it hurt. It
All right.
really did.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. It was nice having a studio audience,
Yes.
you know, and
Maria and
everybody
Kim.
out there in television land. Thank you. We want to wish everybody a happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, All Souls, All Saints, whatever you celebrate. Diwali on Monday, whatever. Okay, so we want to wish you all the best for the upcoming holiday season, and God bless. Mary. do the birthday.
And look up at the sky and watch those stars, because they have a beautiful show for you
The
coming
bright
up.
blessings thing.
And many, 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 many bright
Good night, everyone. Music Maestro.
night.
Night. Yay.